Welcome back to the platform, Nigeria. We are live in Lagos. And our next speaker is Dr. Victor Oladokun. Let's appreciate him. Dr. Victor Oladokun is an internationally recognized media and communications professional. He is the creative force behind cutting-edge TV programs that he has presented hundreds of episodes of leading international news and magazine programs such as CBN World News and Turning Point International. Dr. Victor Oladokun has held several senior and executive-level positions in PR and broadcasting with a wide range of corporate and non-profit organizations located in Africa and the United States. Additionally, he has served as an adjunct professor of leadership and as a pastor of one of the largest Assemblies of God churches in North America. He is the chief executive of 3D Global Leadership, a media consultancy and strategic leadership development company. He's an intrepid international traveler with a curiosity about cultures and an unapologetic lifelong supporter of Everton Football Club. Please join me as we welcome Dr. Victor to the platform.
Wow, I didn't know you were going to put me on blast, but I have to explain the Everton side of things for a moment. I'm a long-suffering Everton fan. I can't remember when we last won a competition or the league, but I grew up in Liverpool in the 1960s, and there were two teams, Liverpool and Everton, but the true Liverpudlians supported Everton. So the game has changed these days. Liverpool has become a little bit more of a global entity, but I hold faith that one day, soon, we'll make it. It's a wonderful being back with you on the platform. What a wonderful joy it is. I just want to congratulate first the conveners of Platform NG, Pastor Boju and Toyin Oyemade, your leadership team, and the wonderful volunteers who make this happen. You come to an event like this, it's easy to speak or it's easy to visit and sit down looking wonderful. But tremendous amount of hours go into what you see. You've been a tremendous blessing to Nigeria, and I want to thank you for all that you do. The ideas that are proffered here on this platform make a huge difference in our nation. So thank you very, very much. I want to preface what I'm saying by stating that I speak in my personal capacity as a Nigerian who throughout his career and throughout his life has been passionate about Nigeria, the urgency of now and the need to create and design a Nigeria that works for everyone, even though tribe, tongue, religion, gender, or age may differ. A Nigeria that we can all be proud of, a Nigeria that is the envy of the rest of the world, a Nigeria that we can all call home. Every now and then when I travel around the world, I get the question, where are you from? I get Egypt, I get the Caribbean, I get South Africa, but very few times do I really get Nigeria. So I allow the questions to stew for a few moments, and I say, guess again. And they keep on guessing. And then I say, well, the best country in Africa. And they come up with a list of names. And finally, I say, Nigeria. Sometimes I get a little bit of a laugh, and many times I get a grudging acknowledgement that there's something special about Nigeria and Nigerians. So for me, one of the greatest privileges I have is to be a Nigerian. I've been asked to speak today on the topic that we're all familiar with, and I believe that in our generation, the Nigeria of our dreams is possible when we begin to make the right choices. Fundamentally, what does Nigeria need from her next president? The answer is very simple. Visionary leadership. I use the term visionary leadership because as a nation and for many years, we have made the mistake of confusing titles with leadership. There's a huge difference. As a statesman, diplomat, and former US President, John Quincy Adams once says, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. So, as a nation, we need a president who brings this critical capacity into the office. But what is visionary leadership? I prefer a definition that I coined in 2009. It says visionary leadership is the capacity to see a desirable future long before it arrives, and the ability to bring it into the present by influencing, inspiring, and using the gifts and talents of others. I repeat, visionary leadership is the capacity to see a desirable future long before it arrives, and the ability to bring it into the present by influencing, inspiring, and using the gifts and talents of others. In essence, visionary leaders know where they're going, they know what they're doing, and how they intend to get where they're going, and who they intend to go with. Look, if Dubai, Singapore, South Korea, Vietnam, or Rwanda can experience radical transformation and growth in a single generation, then why not Nigeria? I strongly believe that it is possible. While my dear brother and friend, Dr. Joe Abba, earlier said he prefers not to use Dubai as an example, and I understand the reason why, I believe that there are lessons we can take away from this city-state. 22 years ago, I visited Dubai for the very first time. And most of what you see right now in Dubai did not exist. It only existed in the minds of the architects and the rulers of the city. That was 22 years ago. I was told at the time of my first visit by city officials that their motto was pushing boundaries. In other words, they believed that whatever has not been done anywhere else in the world, it is possible to pull it off in Dubai. They absolutely believed it, and that they believed that if you can conceive it in your mind, you can achieve it. And have they done so? That belief system did not come about by happenstance or by accident. It was nurtured by a leader and instilled in the public consciousness. Fast forward to 2022, what was once a vision has become a reality. The rumor is that many of our leaders actually visit Dubai quite often. Some of them own very impressive real estate portfolios in this futuristic city, and some live there for extended periods of time. Today, Dubai is home to the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, an engineering and architectural marvel. The Burj Al Arab, the only 7-star hotel in the world. The Palm Jumeirah Islands that have increased Dubai's coastline by 520 kilometers. 30-plus free trade zones, each representing different industries. Emirates, a first-class airline with one of the largest fleets in modern history. And the Dubai Media City and Dubai Internet City, the largest IT and media hubs in the Middle East, with a goal to transform Dubai into the world's leading smart city. Now, Dubai is not done. They already have a plan called Vision 2020. I can only imagine what the next 20 years will look like. They've done it once, they will do it again. But this is my point. The future is not a matter of chance, accident, fate, or wishful thinking. For better or for worse, the future is what we create it to be and what we design it to be. It go better. Now input us for where we did today. In Yoruba, we tend to say, Lojo ola, as in tomorrow it will come to pass. But the proverbial better tomorrow is only the consequence of our cumulative actions and our words and our decisions and our policies on a day-to-day basis. You cannot plant mangoes and expect to reap cocoa. It doesn't happen. So, to the next president of Nigeria, Mr. President, the billionaire questions are as follows. What future do you have in mind for Nigeria? Do you have a clear vision and a roadmap for where Nigeria will and should be in 20 years? Is your vision grounded in reality? A reality that most Nigerians can be excited about and buy into? Do you have an idea of the composition of your government? Have you identified now and not after being sworn into office who are the best and the brightest Nigerians, men and women, young and old, at home and in the diaspora, that you intend to bring into your government? Will you go about the business of fixing the problems of Nigeria for which you were elected, or will you spend, as some of our speakers have said prior to now, the next 4 or 8 years blaming the previous administration or party? Will you have the mental, emotional, psychological, and physical stamina needed to steer this complex and diverse nation towards a future we can all believe in, aspire to, and be proud of? Will you be able to withstand the centrifugal forces that have a tendency to keep us bound in ethno-religious quagmires? For the next president of Nigeria, the stakes are too high, but the choice will be in your hands. That choice ought to have begun long before you receive the nomination of your party, and not when you're being sworn in Eagle Square in Abuja next year. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the future was yesterday, and we're already late. So the question, once again, is what does Nigeria need from the next president in 2023? I am sure there are 1,000,001 things. However, there are 3 basic things. What Nigeria needs from the next president of Nigeria is a recognition that the sole purpose of the exalted office which he will occupy is not power for its sake, but a desire to bring into reality the kind of future Nigerians want, by all means possible. This will require boldness, clarity of mind, intellect, the ability to build a winning team from day one, the capacity to bring along others through the power of communication, transparent accountability within the executive, legislative, and judicial arms of government, and radical reforms within the civil service. Number 2, the next president of Nigeria must decide how he wants to lead, shape, and configure Nigeria. And much has been said about that, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But let's be clear about this. The vision statements, national policies, systems, strategies, staff, and structures that the president and other elected nominated leaders put in place, including governors of states, because many times we tend to speak about the villa as if the governors lived in Mars. No, they control 50% of the assets of this country. So we need to pay as much attention to who is elected at the superstructure as well as the substructures at a state level. We cannot let them off the hook. So you will not have to wait long to find out what it is that they're planning for this nation. You will discern very, very quickly the direction in which the country is going pretty soon. And number 3, what Nigeria needs from the next president is the willingness and the steely resolve and the political will to make a choice, a deliberate choice about the future he wants. But he can only make one choice. There are 4 possible scenarios available. Of the 4 possible scenarios, consciously or unconsciously, he can only create one scenario or outcome, just one, whether he likes it or not. So let me break it down just a bit. I beg, and I no go vex, so make I explain the title for Pidgin and English, make me understand the matter well. As mentioned, his actions, his inactions, his choices, his policies, his strategies, and his visions and his words will determine the future of Nigeria over the next 4 or 8 years. Choice number 1, or choice A, the first future scenario is status quo. Make it be as it be. In this scenario, Nigeria remains pretty much the same with all of its perennial challenges and problems. we stay where we are. We just stay there. No forward motion on all development indices. And as a nation, if we continue to do things the same old way while expecting different results, that is what we're going to get. Make it be as it be. It is a choice. Choice B. The second potential future scenario outcome for Nigeria is regression, or as my Wafi brothers and sisters tend to say, reverse back. In this scenario, on every level of social and economic development, in terms of the quality of our infrastructure, healthcare, education, transportation, seaports, security, power and energy, agriculture, food security, water and sanitation, digital infrastructure, urban decongestion, rural development, instead of staying the same, Nigeria actually begins to decline. With measurable proof, such a situation is possible if our next president fails to take up the challenge. The world is not waiting, and no one is coming to save us except ourselves. If we refuse to innovate in the face of rapid global change, this is what we will get. It is a choice. Choice number 3, or C. The third potential scenario or outcome for Nigeria is, and God forbid, total chaos, or everything pafuka, or as some tend to say, kasala go bust anyhow. In this scenario, the hydra-headed challenges that we have faced for decades could mushroom and pull this nation apart. Historically, nations with fewer and less complicated challenges and conflicts than Nigeria have broken up. What is there to suggest that Nigeria can dodge the proverbial bullet if we continue along this trajectory? It is the collective prayer, I believe, that the next president of Nigeria will make wise and just decisions that will cement our collective unity. To do so or to not do so is a choice. Choice D, the fourth and final future scenario for Nigeria, based on the vision and leadership of the next elected president of this federal republic, is what I refer to as the Nigeria of our dreams, or Nigeria where everything settled well, where everybody go to jolly. That's a choice. For the avoidance of any doubt, let me state very categorically and emphatically that I believe strongly in one Nigeria, a beautiful, diverse, and endowed nation with abundant natural resources and fertile land with 218 million, 18 million creative, talented, and dynamic people. A nation and a people where even our very own worst critics often pause and admit that there is something truly exceptional about Nigeria and Nigerians. I believe that the Nigeria of our collective dreams is possible. It will require the next elected president of Nigeria to have strong political will, accountability, good governance, integrity, and everything else that the previous speakers have talked about. We need a president with a sense of fairness, the spirit of a father that gives every Nigerian a sense of belonging, regardless of where they're from. So how are we going to get there, and what is it that we must do? I'm just going to quickly touch on 7 things very, very quickly. First of all, we must recognize that Nigeria is a system. The federal government, the state governments, the local governments, the private sector, these are all subsystems. But if the subsystems and sub-subsystems are dysfunctional and not effective, how can we expect a whole system, or a system that is whole and well? So it is not just paying attention to what we do at the federal level. Competence and excellence must permeate everything that we do as a nation. Number 2, we must give power to the people. By this I mean electricity. On the first day, make them not talk, say Victor Oladokun say make make revolution come. No. We must give power to the people. On the first day of creation, God said, let there be light. Why? Because light, energy, or power was fundamental to the remaining tasks of creation. Without it, nothing else could be created. It is likewise the case that without energy or electricity, it is impossible to power or build anything else. And without energy, there can be no development. I don't want to talk about our installed capacity or our distributed capacity. Everyone who lives in Nigeria knows that we have a challenge and we have a problem. But let me just give you something to think about. South Africa's installed capacity is 4 times larger than Nigeria. And South Africa only has 60 million people. We have 218 million. But right now, if you visit South Africa long enough, you'll realize that blackouts and brownouts are a problem in South Africa. What is my point? My point is this. Even if we increase our capacity 3 or 4 times with a population of 218 million people, we still cannot meet all of our domestic and industrial needs. So, to the next president of Nigeria, let us give power to the people. We must move at the speed of light. Number 3, we must develop environmentally sustainable communities in the face of climate change and its devastating effects. Keep in mind that by 2030, 60% of the world's population will live in cities. I grew up in this city, in Lagos, at a time when there were only 1.5 million people. If you went past Pangrove, you were on the outskirts of Lagos. You could lie down at Bar Beach till 2 or 3 in the morning without any fear to your life or to your property. But times have changed. By 2030, Lagos will have a population of 21 million people. Where are the mass transit systems? Where are the schools? Where are the healthcare infrastructure? Where is the security? What kind of future are we planning for ourselves as a nation and the cities that we live in? When I was growing up, Lake Chad occupied 26,000 square kilometers, bordering Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. Today, Lake Chad is 10% of what it once was in the 1960s. What do you think happened to all of the thriving, vibrant communities that surrounded the lake? And we wonder why there is insecurity in the Sahel and in Nigeria. We have to deal with the root causes of some of these problems in order to move forward. Nigeria must adapt to climate and seek to access much-needed donor funds that allow us to do so. Education. Do I need to really say anything more here? I think to do so would be an insult. No nation looks the other way while its universities, its polytechnics are shut down for almost a year and nobody says anything. We must fix the problem. We must find solutions. 2 months ago, I was in Morocco visiting the King Hassan VI Polytechnic University. It's an amazing, amazing educational system, only established in 2013, but it specializes today in the highly relevant fields of artificial intelligence, industrialization, food security, and sustainable development. In other words, it is preparing its students for a future that is already here. All over the world, it has already been acknowledged in 13 years as the university of the future. You can look it up. Number 5, we must invest smartly in agriculture. Again, that's a no-brainer. It has tremendous, tremendous potential. The war in Russia and its impact on food, most people don't realize that Africa imports almost 70% of its maize and its wheat and oils from Ukraine and Russia, and its fertilizer. So, beginning next year, you're currently using reserves. Beginning next year, Africa will face a huge food and fertilizer crisis. I appreciate the fact that the African Development Bank, led by Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, is in conversations with the government of Nigeria about setting up special agro-processing zones in different parts of the country. That's already in high gear, and we expect to see tremendous progress in this area. The food and agro-business in Africa will be worth a whopping $1 trillion by 2030. So agriculture can become Nigeria's greatest revenue earner. But to take advantage of this, we must add value and not simply export raw commodities. Linked to these developments is the need to transform our seaports and our industrialization. The reason for this, or the reason for the existence of modern ports, is not so that we can collect duties and taxes on imports, but the acceleration of processed value-added products, including processed foods. We must transform our industrial capacity, and let me explain. In 2020, crude oil accounted for 88.6% of our export revenues, which total 34 billion. By contrast, in 2020, and listen to me on this, because here in Nigeria we want to kill ourselves over oil, but in 2020, Vietnam, which went through a devastating war, just as Nigeria did, had industrial export revenues of $348 billion, 10 times more than Nigeria's exports from crude oil. But the most troubling trend is that Nigeria, according to OPEC, said Nigeria exports crude oil worth $34 billion, but imports refined petroleum products worth $72 billion because our refineries are not working. Something is wrong with the picture and we have to fix it. But number 6, one of the brightest spots on the Nigerian horizon is the doggedness, the dynamism, and the creativity of the Nigerian youth. In spite of generational governmental neglect, they have flourished in areas that do not necessarily require state intervention. This includes entertainment, the arts, sports, fintech, and the digital worlds. Nigerian pop music culture, or pop culture, has captured the imagination of the world. This generation of brand ambassadors has done more for Nigeria's image than the best PR machines money can buy, and I say congratulations to the younger generation of Nigeria. The next president must engage with, support, and leverage this dynamic demographic. As I close, 7, for Nigeria and the next president of Nigeria to accomplish all of this and to create the Nigeria of our dreams, we must solve Nigeria's security challenges. I think this is a no-brainer. Everybody knows the devastating impact that security has on social and economic development. Today, you may not know it. Maybe it's because it hasn't come to your neighborhood, but there are 2.8 million Nigerians who are living in internally displaced persons and who live outside of their states, their towns, their cities on account of criminality, banditry, and terrorism. Again, no comment is required about the devastating impacts that this phenomena has on the lives of innocent men, women, and children, as well as on agriculture, the economy, and the reputational damage that this has caused Nigeria as an investment destination. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, investments and finance only stay where it is made comfortable. To attract the levels of investment in the billions of dollars that Nigeria needs, we must create a secure Nigeria by dealing at the root cause with the underlying cause. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the future is knocking at the door. It is saying, let me come in. The Nigeria of our dreams is a choice. It must be designed consciously and strategically. For the next elected president of Nigeria, what future scenario will it be? Status quo, make it be as it be, regression or reverse back, total chaos, aka Kasala go burst anyhow, or the Nigeria of our dreams, we're set well. It's a matter of choice. May God give the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria the vision, the wisdom, and the boldness to make the right choices. Permit me to mention that the Nigeria of our dreams will require more than one Oga at the top. It will take you, it will take me. It is said that you're known by the company you keep. along with all the brilliant speakers who have preceded me and the ones who will follow, let me just say this. It's been an awesome privilege to be in your collective company today. On this 62nd independence anniversary of Nigeria, my prayer is, may God bless you richly, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.